to work on set. I was able to work in production, post-production, costume, design, work with audio engineers, just basically get the whole spiel. American Horror Story is one of my favorite shows, so basically just be a part of how my favorite show is made. It's an awesome experience.
Today, there are 700 more Hire LA's Youth job hopefuls. Most of those who follow through have a good chance of getting the job.
Yeah, this is my first job, so this will help me because I'll have some experience working with others, and I'll have some experience like getting my money together.
I want to become a singer-songwriter, and I also want to make film for something that can inspire minorities.
Some have dreams for the future, some have dreams that are already coming true. Mason's big goal is now to turn his part-time job with the city into a full-time city staff position. He says he's almost there, and it all started with that first job. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
Hire LA's Youth hired 17,000 young people last year. If you're a youth looking for a job or a business owner who wants to hire someone, visit hirelayouth.com. A popular strip in San Pedro is realigned to make way for San Pedro's newest attraction. This schnazzy shopping plaza is still a few years away, but its entryway is already here, and as Gil Reyes reports, with safety in mind.
From this vantage point, you can see the future taking shape at the LA waterfront, and the future looks bright. Just completed is the all-new Harbor Boulevard. It now leads directly to the soon-to-be-built San Pedro Marketplace. Here's how the marketplace looks now. Not much to look at, but wait 3 years from now.
The realignment of Harbor Boulevard is not only the new gateway into the new San Pedro Public Market, but it opens up the aperture on the transformation we are making in San Pedro.
A catalyst that will turn downtown San Pedro into something very similar to the gas lamp district in San Diego.
The Port's councilman, Joe Buscaino, and other officials also praised the new outdoor lighting and marked crosswalks for added safety along Harbor Boulevard. What's next? A new town square and promenade for the area. Construction is expected to begin next spring. Construction of the San Pedro Public Market is expected to begin next summer. There will be restaurants and shops when completed in 2021. And on top of all this, literally high above Harbor Boulevard, is the brand new Park Plaza here in San Pedro. I'm standing in it right now with drought-tolerant landscaping, trees, plenty of shading, and of course a breathtaking view of the LA waterfront.
We are building LA's newest destination, one that will improve property values, grow current businesses, create lots of opportunities for new businesses. Ladies and gentlemen, the debate is over. We are moving forward.
Big changes coming soon. Along the LA waterfront, I'm Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
The Harbor Boulevard improvements alone cost just over $15.5 million. It's an annual award ceremony that celebrates students and their parents in the LA Unified School District. Rasha Goel has more on the ceremony that was held in downtown LA and the inspiration behind it.
Students like Atel Melgoza are a beautiful hope for the future. As a student who has attended elementary, middle, and high school in the LA Unified School District, the Adelante Award that she recently received is very valuable to her. She's going away for college, but she says she plans to return to LA.
Knowing that my community has given so much to me and made sure that I'm getting an education that will prepare me for college has inspired me to eventually return back to LA because I am going to school in New York. So I do want to come and give back to my community.
Atel was among the students being recognized from 63 schools in Council District 14. The annual Adelante Awards recognize students from elementary, middle, and high schools for academic excellence. The awards have been put on by Councilmember Jose Huizar for 15 years.
The impetus for this was, I recall that when I was a young kid and I would get these recognitions from school, my parents were so proud. They would hang the recognition or the medal on the living room wall, or they would put the trophy in the living room, and it gave me a lot of pride to show my parents that I was doing well. And we want these same kids to take that pride show their parents are doing well, and encourage them to continue with their education.
Adelante is a Spanish word that means onward, and the award is to encourage these young students to strive forward in their lives.
By bettering my life, be able to help better my family in the process, and help serve as, I guess that's a good example to my 4 siblings as they come down the pipeline and pursue higher education.
Seems like many of these students are already on the right track. 130 award winners were recognized at the annual brunch and ceremony. I'm Rasha Goel for LA This Week.
Since the Adelante Awards launched, more than 1,600 students have been honored. If virtual reality, video, gaming, and digital characters are your style, you've come to the right place. We're talking about the E3 conference. Anna Marcos has more on the recent industry event.
You never know what sorts of virtual reality characters you'll meet walking down these halls. This was the Electronic Entertainment Expo, or E3 convention for short, an electric 3 days of digital doodling and video gaming adventure. The event drew more than 68,000 video gamers and industry people to the LA Convention Center.
I come every time I can. The energy, the excitement, the fans, the consumers, the developers.
Motivation is really just living the experience. I've never been to a convention, so I really want to start off with a big bang and go to E3.
I got my first system. It was a Super Nintendo when I was 5 years old. My parents got me that for Christmas, and it's just been a little obsession ever since.
At one time, E3 was an industry-only event, but it has since opened up to let all the gamers themselves in. Spider lovers, Pokemon players, Creed dweebs, and Tomb Raider types, these games are for you.
We're talking about people who are serious about gaming, mobile gamers, streamers, Twitch streamers, and esports teams. That's really our target audience.
And look who else is part of the target audience. We caught our own Channel 35 social media guy and video gamer in the closet, Joe Belden, playing hooky from work. Of course, the diehard gamers got an extra perk, a sneak peek at all the new games and gadgets coming out on the market.
It's really fun. It's really exciting to see the new games come out. We get to see it before anybody else does, so I'm really excited about that.
Me, I'm just excited to see all the demos. Really, I'm excited to play the new Tomb Raider.
Yes, did we mention they got to play with all those toys? I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
The E3 convention had about 300 exhibitors showing off more than 2,000 products. Well, we have the power to make sustainable change, and it all starts at home. Rasha Goel has more on a starter gift from the LADWP that gives you the tools needed to lighten your home and your bills.
Yana, I'm in Venice, and let me tell you, there should be no more excuses for residents when it comes to saving electricity and lowering their electric bills. In fact, the LADWP is going door to door and handing residents 2 LED light bulbs to help promote and encourage energy efficiency. This is the last bunch of energy-saving LED light bulbs being distributed to the 1.4 million LADWP customers in the past 3 months. This latest campaign is a repeat of LADWP's first free LED bulb delivery, which took place at the end of 2016 to help customers save energy and money.
The 2 LED light bulbs that they're going to get in a very attractive little bag today is going to help them save approximately 138 kilowatt hours annually over the lifetime of these light bulbs, which are much more energy efficient than the incandescent light bulbs that they have now. Over the lifetime of the light bulb, they'll also be able to save $476 in energy savings and costs.
Residents are happy about the delivery, and for some, it's been a matter of making the change.
I think that's a brilliant idea, no pun intended. I think that, if we can help save our resources, our natural resources, and at the same time save some money, that's a wonderful thing.
I've just gotten my first LED bulbs recently. I've been a resistant person, to tell you the truth. I haven't wanted to do it because I liked my very strong 100-watt bulbs. But I just got some recently, and I'm really happy that I have them, and I'm looking forward to having more.
Making the switch will also contribute to the long-term savings and sustainability for the city.
The cumulative savings are going to be over 4,000 gigawatts of electricity saved and $666 million in cumulative savings with all of these LEDs that we distribute today.
Imagine if we all adopted it as a way of life. A win-win for everyone all around. In Venice, I'm Rasha Goel for LA This Week.
And remember, when you are changing out a burned CFL, do not throw it out in the trash can, but you'll need to drop it off at a hazardous waste or e-waste center or to a designated retail store. A workshop helps teach vendors how to do business with the city. LA River Day highlights all the fun things you can do on the LA River, and Union Station gets transformed into a real-life art exhibit. All this in City Beat. The City of Los Angeles and the local business community teamed up recently for the 3rd annual Accessing LA event. It was a chance for contractors and vendors to get information and hear presentations on how to do business with the city. Accessing LA promotes the city's vision of fostering the inclusion and economic development of all LA residents and businesses. It was the 5th annual River Day at City Hall to celebrate the kickoff of kayaking season and elevate the profile of all the great recreational opportunities available at the LA River.
Every day of the year, people are working on making the Los Angeles River better, more beautiful, more accessible, safer, cleaner. And so our annual River Day highlights all of those efforts.
Folks at the historic waiting room at Union Station got to be part of an interactive art installation. Artist Alexa Mead welcomed visitors to step into the living artwork and create their own vision of the season. Expected to make a big splash this summer are free and affordable swim lessons for kids at LA City pools. As Gil Reyes reports, close to 50 city pools are taking part.
Does your child know how to swim? If not, the city is offering low-cost and no-cost lessons all summer long at a city pool near you. Mayor Eric Garcetti launches a safety program called Swim LA.
Second leading cause of death, accidental death, for kids under 14 is drowning in a pool. We also want kids to get excited about the Olympics. 2028 Olympics and Paralympics will be here, and this means that some of these kids might be champions in their own backyard in a decade's time.
The LA Department of Rec and Parks is doubling the number of affordable classes for kids of every skill and ability level. Studies show these fun, potentially life-saving skills drop in communities of color. According to the USA Swimming Foundation, 45% of Latino kids don't know how to swim. That number jumps to 64% among African American kids.
Swimming is a fundamental life skill, as the mayor has mentioned, and we have a duty to ensure that every kid has the ability and the right to learn how to swim.
The Expo Center's pool in Exposition Park is one of nearly 50 city pools participating, staying open later than usual so that every kid that doesn't know how to swim has a chance to learn.
Remember what summertime is like to a youth. It's an eternity. These 3 months are an eternity to these kids. So the fact that we can bring this to them now means a whole lot.
Jump right in. Find classes near you at swimla.org. I'm Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
Last year, the city offered 18,000 of these low-cost and no-cost classes. This season, they're doubling up with 36,000 classes. Come on out for several 4th of July celebrations in the city, and classic cars take center stage on the LA waterfront. All this in this week's Things to Do. Councilmember Gil Cedillo will host his free 4th of July annual MacArthur Park Independence Day Festival. It'll conclude with a firework display over MacArthur Park Lake. The event will also feature community booths, a kids zone, food, arts, and crafts. All the fun takes place on Saturday, June 30th from 6 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. at the Levitt Pavilion at MacArthur Park, located at 2230 West 6th Street. For more info, call 323-550-1538. Councilmember Curran Price will also be having his own fireworks show at Exposition Park. The day will be filled with free family fun with live music, games, food, and activities for all ages. Pack a blanket and sweater for the evening. The event kicks off at 11 a.m. with live entertainment, and fireworks extravaganza comes to life at dusk around 9 p.m. Kicking off an exciting summer lineup on the LA waterfront, make sure to head to San Pedro for the 10th annual Cars and Stripes Forever. More than 100 pre-1975 classic cars and motorcycles will be on display. Crowning the festivities will be a dazzling fireworks presentation that begins at 9:15. The event takes place on June 29th from 5 to 10 p.m. at Harbor Boulevard and the Vincent Thomas Bridge. The family event is free and open to all ages. For more, visit lawaterfront.org. And that's a look at some things to do. Well, that's going to do it for this edition. I'm Yana Kane from all of us here at LA This Week. Thanks for joining us. A reminder that you can catch us online at lacityview.org. You can also follow and like us on Facebook. We'll see you back here next week for more of LA This Week.
What if a disaster strikes without warning? What if life as you know it has completely turned on its head? What if everything familiar becomes anything but? Before a disaster turns your family's world upside down, it's up to you to be ready. Get a kit, make a plan, be informed today.
Okay, good morning. Good morning, everyone. If you please take your seats. Please take your seats. Today is Wednesday, June 27th. I want to welcome everybody to City Hall. This council meets every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, and the public is welcome. Mr. Clerk, we do have a quorum. Would you call a roll?
Blumenfield, Bonner, Buscaino, Sodillo, Engler, Harris, Dawson, Weezer, Kirkatz, Corian, Martinez, O'Farrell, Price, Rodriguez, Rube, Wesson, 12 members present, quorum, Mr. President.
You had a little trouble with Krikorian, huh?
That I did, sir, since he's not here.
All right. First order of business again.
Approval of the minutes.
Martinez moves, Correct seconds. Next.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Cedillo moves, Blumenfield seconds. Next.
Mr. President, for item 27, the correct date on the agenda should be reflected as November 14, 2017, not November 14, 2018.
So ordered.
Items 1 and 2 are items noticed for public hearing. For those items, the city clerk reports that the tabulated values of opposing ballots cast does not exceed the tabulated values of the supporting ballots cast. Therefore, majority protests are not found to exist, and the proposed establishments may be authorized.
Okay, do we have cards?
Sir, cards on both items.
All right, then let's continue.
Items 3 through 18 are items for which public hearings have been held. A committee report for item 3 has been posted and circulated.
Okay, it's been suggested that we hold item 3. Members, let's prepare to vote on the remaining items. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, those items are approved. Continue. Mr. Clerk?
Mr. President, there's been a request to send items 6 and 18 forthwith.
So ordered.
Items 19 through 29 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Okay, so without objection, those items are before this body. Do you have cards on these items?
Yes, sir, cards on all items.
Then let's continue.
Mr. President, that takes council back to presentations or items called special.
Okay, we'll begin with some public comment. I want to call up Mr. Herman. Mr. Herman, you have items 1 and 2, 19, 20, 21. 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, and 29.
Sit. Stay. Item 1, consideration of Jose Huizar, public announcement, ballot tabulation. Usually it's always tabulate the votes, and we always get a yes, yes, yes in the tabulation. Why is that? Why can't we question the concerns of the legislative body, we the people, the Ralph M. Brown Act? Rather, present and adopt accompanying ordinance. You know what I think of the ordinance? Thank you, Chief Charlie Beck and Mr. M&M Moore. 42 U.S.C. 1983.
Let's stay on the item.
Fuck the ordinance.
Let's stay on the item, Mr. Herman.
And on item number 2, sir, as you interrupt me in the Brown Act, I speak about CD 13. No one other than Mitchell Farrell. His consideration of public announcement and ballot tabulation. It's always yes, yes, yes. Would you please be quiet as I speak? Thank you. As you see the concerns, authorize the city clerk subject to the approval of the fucking city attorney. Once again, Mr. Keebler. Once again, Mr. Keebler. Tabulate the vote. Yes, yes, yes. You've all become yes men. Why is that? Why can't the public be heard for 60 seconds of general public comment, 42 U.S.C. 1983? Now my general public comment. Fuck the police because I am the NWA. As you see, I am the security of Donald Trump and Jeff Sessions, who was here yesterday. We're here to stop corruption. We're here to stop abuse. We're here to stop the homeless HHH fraud, waste, and fucking abuse, God damn it. We're tired of it. We're sick and tired of it. People need to get off the streets, starting with African Americans, starting with Latinos, starting with Asians, starting with every motherfucking race that's homeless. HHH, Mr. City Attorney. Now you understand why I'm here in black, because I have an attitude, NWA. And when the Hollenbach Police Division denied me access to the Hollenbach Police Station.
Thank you, Mr. Herman. Thank you. All right. Now let's vote on items 19, 20, 22, 24, 27, and 29. If you would please open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Ms. Martinez.
Can I ask for urgent forthwith on item 29?
29. Let's vote on urgent forthwith. So let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, so ordered. Mr. Previn, you want to come forward? Items 1, 2, 21, 23, 25, 26, 28. And your general public comment. So start with the items first.
Thank you, sir. We're in the regular meeting, obviously, and I appreciate that. And obviously, welcome to the new chief, Michael Moore. This is a transition, and we're excited for a new term. And he made some comments up in public safety. He's a very thoughtful and.
So why don't we get on the agenda items? Mr.
Sure.
President?
I just wanted to greet the man, sir. Obviously, we appreciate your efforts too, sir. Item number 28, you got your firefighters adding 9 positions, and I know this came a little late, and we're trying to squeeze it in. We want to get the guys out there fighting, and women fighting the fires. Incidentally, County Fire Department added 650 new positions recently, of which 30 are women. So everybody's struggling to get more inclusion in that regard, and I would appreciate if the chief could do that down here. That's the fire chief. But the one concern I have about rolling out these additional positions is, the procurement for fire department equipment is getting murky. There was an $18 million helicopter upstairs that's also, we're getting a $1.2 million discount, and it kisses us into a required service agreement. And this was not in the budget cycle. This was all kind of cooked up afterwards. We've got to divide our MICLA commitment. It needs to be done in a more professional way, the procurement up at the fire department. Now, I know the mayor's added a procurement officer, so this is exciting, and we will look forward to hearing his thoughts on this kind of an agreement where you buy a service agreement that you don't necessarily see while you're getting a super-duper discount on a very expensive piece of equipment. I think we all agree we need the equipment, but it is worth taking a close look at, and I know you're working on that. Now, Price Harris Dawson, thanks for the motion, and the Neighborhood Council does a podcast. They're going to be rolling over $9,000 from their last year money into their new year money for a piece of art, and I support it completely. And I know David Rue is going to make it so that hopefully in the future, neighborhood councils can take $10,000 and roll it over to the next year. That would be important. But what I think is really important is that we adjust so that the city clerk and the neighborhood council department make it so that we can have a short period to adjust our bylaws so that those in neighborhood councils citywide will have a chance to, when we do vote in 2019, to vote with confidence and with surety, with a sense of what we're doing. Because at the moment, the bylaw moratorium makes it so that it's absolutely impossible for any change. Now, we, as you know, sir, we're heavy lifters in Studio City. We did make a change, but now the moratorium's making it impossible for us to follow through on that. So I would appreciate it if you could talk to Mr. Rue, who's your guy on neighborhood councils now. I think Krikorian's still interested, but not as active, and let's make that happen. Because it's only a 2-month window, and though Holly Walcott is busy, She's not that busy because she's had a whole year to think about it and get these things going, not a moratorium, if you know what I'm saying. So let's move forward with that, sir, at your leisure. Now, in terms of the general public comment.
Let's give him his 1 minute. Wait a second,
Yeah,
Mr. President.
I think it's always important to acknowledge those who take a step back and correct their missteps. And I'd like to congratulate the city attorney's office and the city for realizing that when you put 8502, that's the parking ordinance that's, unfortunately, it makes it so that folks can't park near parks and schools and things when they're seeking shelter in their automobiles. Now, obviously, nobody wants to seek, it's not a first choice for women and families to be sleeping in a car, veterans, but unfortunately, sometimes it happens. So relaxing the pernicious attack on them was sort of what the public was hoping for, Safe Parking LA, et cetera. But this body understood that by changing it and figuring out how to charge either not-for-profits or folks who park something to park safely and be protected, we're going to work up some kind of fee structure. That is a substantial change, and that's why it's on the special meeting agenda at item number 32, and we will have a chance. And so kudos to the city attorney for realizing that they stepped a little outside the law, and then they're tippy-toeing right back in, sir. So thank you for your time, and have a great day. And welcome to the chief. Thank you.
Antonio Ramirez, items 1 and 2 in general public comment. Antonio, where are you? Come on.
One moment, sir, please. First of all, thank you very much. The Fashion District area, ladies and gentlemen, is truly, it is the most disgusting vomit, feces, caca all over, urine, gang-infested. This is a breeding ground of gangbangers and wetbacks throughout the whole entire fashion industry. You've got drug sales, paraphernalia, contraband, all throughout this fashion industry. And I feel sorry for the people that come from all over to do their shopping, and what they end up is just smelling the stench of urine, feces, vomit, and just puking shit all over that place. I am surprised we still have a fashion industry in that place. Who the hell wants to go shopping down there, especially seeing all the goddamn wetbacks and gangbangers profiting and stealing from those shoppers who innocently go there to buy cheaper products when they find out that they end up getting robbed. Don't go to the fashion industry. You're gonna get robbed. You got nothing but goddamn wetbacks and gangbangers and a criminal
Let's get on topic. Let's get on topic.
Thank you. And number 2, ladies and gentlemen, Hollywood has done the worst. They actually have sabotaged America in the future in the present of the children. The children have now ended up on drugs thanks to
okay, so I don't see how this is
related
to the agenda
item 2,
item.
Ms. Ramirez.
Notifying the world that
Ms. Ramirez, in fact, let's give her general public comment. Let me give you your general public comment. You can say what you want. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. I'd like to go ahead and say what can I say? We need boss gags in the house. And furthermore, I'd like to go ahead and wish 2 people happy birthday. First, I'd like to start with ex-Presidente Vicente Fox. He will celebrate his birthday on July the 2nd, 2018. He brought freedom of speech and put Mexico on the map. Feliz cumpleaños. Secondly, our ex-mayor of Anaheim, the Honorable Kurt Pringle, whose birthday is June 27, 2018. That's today. Happy birthday, Kurt Pringle. You brought peace, prosperity, health, and happiness. You transcended racism, discrimination, bigotry in Anaheim. The man has the Midas touch. I call him the wholesome white man, the 9th wonder of the world, because he knew how to connect with everyone and make the city prosperous. There was no corruption, fraud, or abuse under his tenure.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Ramirez. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, let's, City Attorney, that closes the multiple comments section. I wanted to get that out of the way, so that public comment is over. Let us now move to, I think, the big item of today. I'm going to call on Mr. Englander to kick it off in a few minutes, but Mr. Englander, before you do, I think we should all just give another round of applause to Chief Beck for all of the work that the service Okay, Ms. Ramirez, let's keep it down now. You know, as we're going to have a conversation on who the next chief might be, I want to say that last night, and members, you know that for quite some time, we as a council have sponsored what we call Embrace LA Dinners, where we bring people in throughout the entire city of LA from all races, religions, colors, sexual preferences, and we have conversations about race. We have conversations about religion. We have conversations about the police and where they fit into our city. And I just want to announce that the day before this man should or could become the next chief of police for the city of LA, he hosted his own Embrace LA dinner, and I think that that's the tone that we want to set where it relates to our great police department and the relationship that they really want to build with the people that they protect and serve. So I just can't say enough about what you did. I'm sure there were a lot of things that you could have been doing last night, but to bring in people from all over this city was just, that's who we are. That's what LA is all about. So with that said, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Mitch Englander.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Colleagues, this is by far the most important confirmation hearings that we'll ever have, the Chief of Police. And with that, I want to thank President Soboroff here, the Police Commission, for leading one of the most transparent, open, public dialogues that have ever occurred in the history of the city of Los Angeles. From the beginning, this Police Commission set out to set a tone that this decision was going to be made in the open, that this decision was going to be made in picking the next police chief for the city of Los Angeles with the input from every Angelino and every concerned citizen and community group. The commission itself had over 7 public hearings citywide. They met with well over 60 to 70 different constituency organizations and groups. They had over 2,000 online surveys conducted. They met with many of us and our neighborhood council members, and constantly was out there getting input from the media, from community stakeholders, and various other folks. Once they came up with their selection of their top 3 choices, each 3 were unanimous. That deliberative process sets a tone for what we should be doing in virtually every appointment, not just the Chief of Police. But I want to give a round of applause to Mr. Soboroff and the Police Commission for beginning that process and what they did. This morning we had a Public Safety Committee meeting, and we spoke with the Chief-elect for about an hour and a half and went through every issue you can fathom, although we could have spent all day there, and I'm sure we'll have many more conversations. But it's my honor to introduce the first Assistant Chief, Michael Moore, a 35-year veteran of the Los Angeles Police Department. Born in California, he moved to Southern California from Portsville in 1978, and he joined the Los Angeles Police Department in 1981 and served honorably ever since. He rose through the ranks as a police officer, detective, sergeant, and lieutenant, working various patrol, investigative, and administrative assignments throughout the city of Los Angeles. He achieved the rank of captain in 1998. Noteworthy assignments, assuming command of Rampart and rebuilding the trust between the community and law enforcement. He continued to rise through the ranks, being promoted to commander, then deputy chief, then assistant chief, and most recently, first assistant chief. In his career, Assistant Chief Moore has worked in many of Los Angeles' geographical districts and overseen a wide range of LAPD's operational functions, including the Detectives Bureau, Counterterrorism and Special Operations Bureau, Citywide Jail, Property and Security Services Operations, Office of the Administrative Services, and most recently as Director of the Office of Operations. He has shown leadership in developing the credibility and accountability of the police department by promoting the philosophy of community policing that stresses intelligent, partnership-oriented strategies involving community stakeholders as well as various members of the criminal justice system. He has served with distinction, earning the following commendations and awards: the Police Medal, the Police Star, the Meritorious Service Medal, and the Department's Medal of Valor. Throughout his career, he has sought to develop his skill set beyond just learning on the job, earning Bachelor's of Science degrees in Business and Management and a Master's in Business Administration from the University of Redlands. He was a graduate of the Police Executive Research Forum, the Senior Management Institute for Police and Supervisory Leadership Institute, and West Point's Leadership Program. He completed advanced coursework in emergency management, counterterrorism, and process improvement. Assistant Chief Moore's life is an example that represents the finest qualities of a sworn member of Los Angeles Police Department: a commitment to service, an interest in self-improvement through the developing of skills and knowledge, and dedication to our city. Before I call him up on a personal note, and we spent a lot of time in this in committee this morning, I want to let you all know, because we all know, the kind of individual Chief Moore is. His public record in the Los Angeles Police Department is unparalleled. His accomplishments are phenomenal. And what he's done to help steer this, not just the department, but the city and the stakeholders in the direction of transparency and cooperative, intelligent, and compassionate policing will only help as he becomes the police chief. On a personal note, I have known Chief Moore going on 16 years, his wife Cindy, their daughter Haley, an incredible family. But as an individual, one of the most intelligent, intellectually and both spiritually, but more important, ethically, honest, with a foundation that is so solid that every officer should strive to have those characteristics. And so I welcome Chief Moore to the table and would like to open it up to all of my colleagues for questions and comments. And I'll close when we're done. Thank you.
Chief, welcome. Before we start the questions, let's quickly vote, Madam Clerk, on items 1, 2, 21, 23, 25, 26, and 28. Are we ready? Okay, let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay. Chief, did you want to start us off?
Council President, if I could just for a moment, first to Councilman Englander, humbled by your remarks and descriptions, and a couple of people here I'd like to thank just quickly as before I begin my framing of my remarks as far as this process, and that is to Chief of Police Charlie Beck. And you recognized him earlier, a mentor, a friend, a leader who has changed, in my view, forever the course of the Los Angeles Police Department, and I'll forever be indebted to him. And I have such tremendous shoes to fill, and as we change and move into the next chapter, someone who's given me a great deal of insight and development as a leader and just as a human being. Also to Commission President Steve Soboroff, as the chair and the leader within the Board of Police Commissioners, his leadership within that commission in encouraging and reforming the organization to be a more transparent and accountable organization, one that's worthy of the trust of our communities, is to be applauded. Also, the Commission's leadership in this extensive process of determining who the next chief of police for the Los Angeles Police Department should be. I have been with this organization nearly 37 years and am familiar with the selection process of what it means to select each chief. And I have to, I must not only admit, but clearly identify and echo what's been said, is that the process in this round was the most extensive, the most transparent, the most engaging process that I have seen in my tenure with the department. And one that really, I believe, listened and taught me and reinforced to me the importance of what I must do as a chief, which is listen and gather perspective and input from throughout Los Angeles. I also want to applaud Mayor Garcetti and his wisdom in not only his series of meetings and in his engagement to wrestle with this tough decision, but his decision to involve council leadership. Both Council President Wesson, Mr. Englander, Mr. Rodriguez, Mr. Martinez, I'm sorry, and it was your involvement, the three of you also, that again informed my perspective as to the path forward, what as chief I must do, and areas that we can further develop and enhance. So putting all this in my mind, and what I sit here before you with is a couple remarks or thoughts, and that is, as chief of this organization, should you affirm this appointment? My commitment to you is to lead an organization of 13,000 men and women who I have every belief stand for the types of values, principles, and ideas that not just this body stands for, and not just what we pursue in public service, but is representative of the best of America. And in leading this organization, that's a humbling task with the demands that we have, the resources that we are tasked with trying to make fit and meet these needs. But I am encouraged. I'm encouraged each day by the quality of the men and women I have working, that I have the job of supporting, including the men and women of the leadership team I have behind me. People who are powerful leaders in their own right, people who have made a difference in this organization. Assistant Chief Beatrice Grimala, Deputy Chief Robert Arcos, who, as you know, was one of the three finalists, and as the mayor wrestled with decisions, I knew quite capably he could have picked either him or I, or Chief of Police for San Francisco, Bill Scott, also a friend and colleague. So while I don't have Bill Scott here with me, we do talk, and I hope to rely upon him and call upon him for his insight as I take on this new task. But I also enjoy Chief Grimala, Chief Arcos, Chief Peters, and others that I know will be the future of LAPD. And as I go about my work and building the trust internally, they'll be great sources of insight and guidance, and help tune my perspective as to how do we support our men and women who are under a great deal of burden at this moment, who have a great deal of tasks before them. So we're already in play on that. We already are working on, bringing additional resources to the area to help our people. We've already announced an effort to update our technology, to transition from legacy systems that are burdening our people. And as we do this investment, though, what I've done in the last 3 weeks and what I've done in the last 6 months and what I believe I've done throughout my career is demonstrate an ongoing commitment to listen to our communities, to be engaging, to be a partner with them, and as chief, to take that to a new level as an organization. In closing, I would say that the richness of Los Angeles is our diversity. The richness of Los Angeles is our ability to continually challenge ourselves to new heights. You will see as a chief, as I move forward, should I win your approval. A policing that has purpose. Everything we do, we'll be able to map back to our basic core function, which is to safeguard the lives and properties of the people we serve, to act with integrity, and to build trust. Our policing will be with compassion. Each individual that we encounter, whether it be a victim or an individual experiencing homelessness or an offender, whatever their station in life, they deserve the dignity of an individual. They deserve us to treat them professionally and with compassion. And that our efforts of providing for public safety strike the balance of how do we provide for the safety of everyone involved in Los Angeles. And then lastly, partnerships. Los Angeles is a city that is successful because of the inputs of the entire complexity of this city. And in policing it, we are well beyond where we were decades ago, where everything was a police solution. If there's a problem, call an officer, we will fix it. If there's a challenge in a neighborhood, the police department will come and resolve it. That's not the Los Angeles Police Department today. Under the leadership of Chief Beck, under the leadership of Chief Bratton, my immediate predecessors have clearly shown and taught me and the rest of the organization of the criticality of reaching out and having a shared responsibility for public safety. And moving forward, I see that also with this commission, or this council. My presence here and being engaged with you as partners as we go about policing and providing for the public safety is both genuine and something that I fully intend to ensure that you appreciate. I suspect, though, you'll get tired of hearing from me. But it's a commitment I also heard during this process of your concerns that the chief addressed. So that is my commitment to you. I look to lead the members of this organization out of Safe Harbor. We have a difficult job to do. I fully intend to support them, provide them with the tools and training and the guidance to do this work in the world-class manner that we do today, but I believe we can improve even further as we move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Mr. Koretz.
Thank you, Mr. President. And it gives me great pleasure to make an assumption and to say congratulations, Chief Moore. I know that you're going to get the support of this council because we all recognize that you've been a great leader in terms of bringing this department forward and problem solving and moving us in the right direction. I know you'll continue to do that as chief, and I know and look forward to working with you on improving our de-escalation policies and making our patrols more visible in our neighborhoods and bringing the LAPD into the 21st century in terms of technology. And we know you're not only a great leader, but a great problem solver, and we look forward to working with you and working on all of our problems and issues together with the LAPD. And also I want to thank your wife and family who have made sacrifices, as all law enforcement families do, and for allowing you to do what you do and now giving us to you as the new chief of police. So I have enjoyed working with you over the years and look forward to continuing to do so in this capacity. And thank you for your willingness to serve in this difficult role.
Thank you, Mr. Koretz. Mr. Buscaina.
Thank you, Mr. President. First and foremost, I do want to, I know this body recognized Chief Beck last week. I've had the privilege to serve under you, Chief, and you'll be greatly missed. And any time you have a change of command in any police agency across this country, municipalities often are concerned about the seamless change of command. And I'm confident that what we have before here, colleagues, will be a seamless change of command, where you have a candidate that's before us who is engaged, who has a wealth of knowledge about the city and this organization, who has committed himself for over 30 years of law enforcement commitment to the city of Los Angeles. And we had a thorough discussion in committee this morning. And what I've learned in our conversations, even leading up to today, was, Chief, you continue to embrace our community-based policing models. You continue to embrace, and you will embrace, the fact that, you need to support our rank and file, hold them accountable. You also understand the complexities of policing in the city and throughout this country. Something that you also mentioned in committee today, the importance of moving forward on a patrol plan that will be responsive to our residents as it relates to policing and police service requests and police calls that are facing our cities, our communities throughout the city. Our gang intervention prevention models that you've embraced, our community safety partnership that was born out of Watts, that you will continue to embrace. Also the reforms, and seeing the command staff behind you who have also embraced reform efforts. If you look at the LAPD in its darkest days, you understand that we will not go back to those dark days. And you have embraced the reforms, and I feel that today we are a better police department because of the mistakes that we've made in the past. The fact that you mentioned today you want to build trust and have that trusted ally between the community and the police department is something that, as a senior lead officer, I embrace as well, that building that faith, trust, and confidence between the police department and our community, and that you are committed to the rank and file, who are the driving force of the best agency in this country. So I want to stand and applaud Mayor Garcetti's recommendation. I know it was a tough choice. I hope that you empower Bobby Arcos, who sits behind you. Chief Arcos, you and I come from the same DNA. You understand the importance of being a senior lead officer in this department, and it takes a certain breed to be a senior lead officer, but I believe and I know that senior lead officers around the city are mini police chiefs in their respective basic car areas. So I applaud you, Chief Arcos, for really taking that leap forward and putting your name in the hat. But today we recognize this confirmation, and as the chairman said, this is one of the most important decisions we make as city council members. And as we know, the most critical decision that we make here is right before us, and I know that it's the right one. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Buscaino. Mr. Price?
Thank you, Mr. President. Chief, just want to join those who are excited about your confirmation. I think that you're going to certainly continue the kind of positive policing we've had in this community under Chief Beck as we move forward. And so this is a chance for us to, or for you really, to confirm and reconfirm. You have background training experience. No one takes that away. And of course, your experience in all parts of the city have been a real plus. But as we move forward, what can we do to improve and expand the community-based policing initiatives that I think have been so successful in parts of the city that I represent? What are your plans to do that? And how can we continue to expand the force, making sure that it's representative of minorities that represent our city? How can we do that in an effective way? And with special attention, I think, to focusing on African-American recruitment on the force. But look forward to your response, and as I said, look forward to your collaboration as we continue to work together.
Well, thank you, Councilman. You're correct. My efforts going forward will be to continue and further strengthen our engagement at the community level, particularly with our youth, particularly with deployments at a neighborhood level and engagements at a neighborhood level that the Community Safety Partnership initiative has shown to be so powerful. As you know, and as this council body is aware, we've not just taken those programs and managed them. We're seeing the richness of their results, the safety in the community, the building of trust between the community and our officers that are assigned there, and we're expanding. South Park will be the next edition of that, and that will open by the end of this year. We're looking now to the San Fernando Valley and our next iteration of community safety partnerships. But it's beyond that micro-level neighborhood deployment, because while that's a great deployment model for improving public trust, it's also a very resource-intensive, and given the demands within policing, there is a limit to how many of those we can put in place today. So what's critical to me is that we continue and look to deepen our engagement in other avenues. For instance, our officers' engagement in footbeats, in bicycle patrols, our ability to do impromptu roll calls in the streets, encounters, coffees with the cops, our engagements with community meetings, time that we spend in houses of worship. The more times that we have as an officers to meet with communities at a one-on-one basis or a one-on-few basis and hear from each other, we see each other, and we better appreciate the community's concerns and their sentiments and perceptions of our work and our impact in their community, and vice versa, those sentiments and our concerns as to how we're perceived and what we're trying to get accomplished. And the trust goes up. So those engagements we're now measuring, much like we have measured for the decades, crime and the means of which we're trying to affect the impact of community safety as defined by crime, to now what are those community engagements looking like? Because as we begin to benchmark those activities, I think that we'll see some areas will be more successful at this than others, and it'll help us and our leadership team better understand areas that we need to improve and deepen. Critical to that also will be a community-based surveys that we do regularly at the neighborhood level. It's one thing to drive around the city or walk about the city or a neighborhood or attend a meeting and get a snapshot in time of how the community sees or perceives us as an organization worthy of trust and their confidence. We're a customer service enterprise. We need to bring more analytical tools to gather and capture that and then benchmark that over time so we can understand how we are perceived and what is our scorecard today in Mid-Wilshire and where are we at 6 months from now and where are we at a year from now. Because as I move about through my tenure, my goal is to see the benchmarking of scores, particularly in regards to community sentiment of the Los Angeles Police Department in communities of color, to improve. We know today that the largest challenge we have in trust is in our communities of color of the police department. What we don't know is how that has improved or worsened in the last 6 months or a year. And what I do know over time, and having overseen our CompStat process over years, and having seen the work that was pioneered by then Chief Bratton, is that as we bring in measurements of this type of important idea, we will see our ability to influence it and to improve it. So it's a commitment based not just on activities, it's a commitment based not just on a concept, but it's a commitment based in realizing the analytics that every other customer-oriented business engages in, which is how are we doing and how can we improve. So those type of activities are important to me as we move forward. Additionally, you asked about two other areas. One is the diversity within the department and how to improve that. And the other aspect, I think, is in recognizing the levels of trust or confidence in us within communities of color, how do we further deepen that beyond our engagement? I'll take that last part. As I said in Public Safety Committee this morning, I am grateful for the Ray Charles Foundation for their support of our cadet program. And as I said there, one of the legacies, I believe, of Chief Breck will be what he took this program to, the new heights that he was able to accomplish during his tenure. And while we had a setback in regards to some of the oversight of that process and a hiccup on my watch, we were able to address that quickly. We were able to hold accountable the individual, the officer who tarnished this badge. And I don't mean to bring a darkness to this conversation, but I want to acknowledge the error that was made. But our effort overall was to improve our outreach to all of our communities in Los Angeles. And moving forward, my commitment to deepen that success in regards to African American young men and women. So how we do that, in my view, is by further working with our communities that have children that are at the age groups that the cadet program can accept and they can become a member of our program, and to build trust with those parents and with those families that this is a worthwhile and important endeavor in the development of their child. It's not that we're looking for their participation. I'm going to use this opportunity to give this program a plug. We're not looking to make little police officers out of our cadets. The character building and the social skills and the responsible skills that we are able to instill in these young people give them life skills that will make them successful in a number of different walks as they move forward. But it also gives those families insight into how the Los Angeles Police Department works, how we care, and how we're engaged. And so it also builds trust in those very same communities because their cadet is coming home and talking about what we do and how we go about it. And we're involving those parents with a new vision of how the department operates rather than something they simply see on television or something they read about in the paper. So the cadet program, the expansion of our youth programs with the Watts Bears football teams, the other youth activity leagues, those are areas that we can improve in our the trust in our communities that represent diversity. And then finally, regarding the department's diversity, I am committed. I have come up through an organization that has grown significantly in its representation of diversity. When I first became on the department, women made up very few as far as members of our organization. Today, we're at 19% of our sworn personnel. But as I've met with a number of council people in my preparation for this, I am committed to breaking through that barrier. We've been at 19%, under 20% for years now. And I believe that we're at a point where we need to find new ways and identify new avenues in order to deepen that representation. Because in diversity, whether it's gender or ethnicity, we are a better department, we're a richer department, and we're a more capable department. And I believe that in women representatives, that there are job designs and strategies that we can employ to better elicit and entice women to come on the department, but also to take on additional responsibilities within the department. In regards to African American men and women, we are basically tracking as a representative of parity, if you will, of the percentage of African Americans as a city population. My view is that that number needs to increase substantially, because particularly areas of trust with the Los Angeles Police Department lies in our African American communities. And the more representation, the more members of our organization that are members of that community, I believe the better perspective communities in which we serve will see us because they see themselves. Working on that was one of the first matters of business in a communication between me and the Assistant General Manager of the Personnel Department, identifying that moving forward, we have a very productive relationship with the Personnel Department under the leadership of the Mayor's Department, but I want to double down and deepen our success with African American applicants and also women as members of this organization. And then internally, we've begun a series of work groups, one of which is matters of how do we improve our promotional processes, how do we improve the manner in which you have a career path or ladder within the organization, and what is standing in the way of us achieving greater diversity. And lastly, I believe as a first matter of discussion with my general staff meeting a couple weeks ago, actually Chief Beck's general staff meeting, but I stood as the Chief Select, was to communicate that as we move into this next chapter, that an area of significant concern for me will be the importance of diversity within our ranks at all levels, and that my expectation of myself and of my senior leadership team is that we build a bench, that we do outreach and engagement, that we find means of which to improve our representation at all levels of diversity in this organization. We are capable. We have continued to see improvements in many of these areas, but I believe that we're capable of more.
Mr. Blumenfield.
Great, thank you. And I really appreciate your answer to that question. It's one of the reasons I like you so much is that you've been involved in this LAPD, 35 plus years, you've done almost every aspect of this department. You've got a finely tuned gut in terms of what needs to be done and what doesn't need to be done. But you always go back to the metrics, and you go back to saying we're not just going to go on our gut. We're going to see where our goals are and see and measure how we're getting there. And I think that's great. It's one of the things that's made you such a strong candidate and will make you such a strong chief. Gotten to know you over the last couple of years and your wife, going to different events in the Valley. I've always appreciated that you get out there, whether it's a Boys and Girls Club or wherever it is. I see you out in the community, even though you're chief of this entire, or will be chief of this entire city. Now, we have 10,000 officers covering 500 square miles, and as you know, I represent the West Valley, and one of the problems is there's often this perception that there's not enough police presence. So my hope is that, and I know that you understand this issue because you have been in the Valley, a chief, you included stints in the Valley Bureau, the commander and deputy chief, so you understand the Valley, but I have to raise it as always as an issue, not as a question, but just to put it out there because we do have some unique issues out there, and we often feel like we don't get enough of a police presence. And the other big issue with the Valley is more people now in the Valley are dying from traffic accidents and traffic collisions than homicides. And that's important, and it's going to have to be an important feature of how we deal with the Valley moving forward and focusing on those issues. Yeah, our violent crime is down in many ways, but we have this issue with property crime that comes up again and again, and then the rising deaths with traffic. And I know you're going to handle those issues, and you've got a great team behind you and in the force, and I'm very excited about your nomination, and I'm just thrilled to rise in support of it, and I look forward to working with you to tackle these and all the other issues, many that you've mentioned, and your commitment to community policing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Huizar.
Thank you very much. And as I watched this process unfold, there was a real sense of transparency and thorough vetting as the mayor made his decision to recommend to the council. And the good news is, as you mentioned, there were people on the bench, there were people that were well qualified to stand up within the department and continue to lead this department forward. And to me, that was very important. It was important that we have someone that knows Los Angeles, knows the neighborhoods, and also continues the transition and the success we've seen from Chief Beck. What was also interesting is that as it went through the commission, through public review, the mayor's office, it was interesting to note that everyone is in line with the goals and policies and direction of the LAPD. And that's a good thing to see. It's the compassion approach, it's community policing, it's understanding that it's also youth development programs that help us. And it's great to be in a time in the city of Los Angeles where we're saying, hey, we're doing the best we can collectively to address public safety, and we have a new chief of police that will continue on that trajectory. So I think it's an interesting time in the city of Los Angeles to see that. And as I've listened to you throughout the process, you reflect that, and you reflect the best values of this department, the thoughtfulness, the inclusivity, understanding that it's about community. And so I'm really excited to continue on this trajectory and to call you our next chief of police. And it's a tremendous responsibility, but as we've heard you speak, we know that you're going to do it with integrity, and you understand the importance of this. So I'm going to give you an early congratulations before the vote, but we're very proud to have you and call you our chief of police.
Mr. Sadilla.
So, let me suggest to you that you are more than qualified, and that the three candidates were also equally, or in their own way, not equally, but in their own way, qualified to lead this department. And all things being equal, all of us could be very comfortable with those who were offered up, and it's an attribute to the department, it's an attribute to the development and training, and to the previous leadership. Let me suggest to you, though, that this job is different than the job Chief Beck had or the job that Chief Bratton had. And let me say that it is different in this way. Never has our country been under assault, never has our city been under assault and in conflict with the White House. And so today, the city that you will lead is a city that will be sensitive to a ban on Muslims coming into our airport. It will be a city in which your public sector unions, which are important to the stability of the communities where those members come from, are not only under assault, but have had a tremendous setback. It is a city in which of immigrants knows that immigrant children have been torn from the hands of their parents. That is a much different city than Chief Beck and Chief Moore and Chief Beck, Chief Bratton, and Chief Parks had to lead. And so the challenges, I suggest, and then we've had these conversations, are greater than your predecessors. We don't doubt, and I don't doubt, that our approach to community policing will continue. I think the wisdom of Special Order 40 continues to demonstrate itself, more so today than ever. But I look at the challenges that the White House administration, to be candid, to state the obvious, presents for our new chief. Simply the events of the last few days and the last few weeks make this city look differently to its political leadership, and that includes you, sir, because you will automatically and immediately become a leader of this city and of this nation. And so I'm interested in your thoughts. I think it's important for the public to know your thoughts on this matter. Clearly, as on these questions of ICE versus LAPD, our commitment to the immigrant community, what we do and think and how we think about the Muslim ban and what it does for race relations and community relations in our city. And I think it's also important to note the recent court's ruling on the question of public sector unions, because the unions serve as such a stabilizing force for our communities, because and studies show that those workers that work for the public, for the city, the state, for the county, earn more than their neighbors, are more stable, more resourceful, are better neighbors in many instances, and are leaders in their community. And so those are just a few changes over the last since the last conversation we had. So I offer that to you. It's important for us to hear, I think, for the city to hear from you on these matters.
Well, thank you, and I welcome the opportunity to talk on this very issue. I'm proud of Los Angeles, and I'm proud of the Los Angeles Police Department, because in this current environment on the national stage, I believe that we are leaders. My conversation with Mayor Garcetti spoke to the importance of us remaining in a leadership position, not just with how we police the city, but what is our voice with our other law enforcement officials? What is our voice with our federal officials and our elected federal officials in regards to these matters that are being tossed about with such recklessness? How I will make judgments is how I have made judgments my entire career. I have a moral compass. I know the difference between right and wrong. That's not a matter of tenure. That's a matter of principles. I see things done today for a matter of politics. The Los Angeles Police Department will provide for the safety of every Angelino on a matter of what is right. And that's what will guide me. Voices, as I said the other day, in respect to and to honor the legacy of John Mack, a voice that will be forever in my ear, is the rights of everyone in which every person that we work with, that we encounter. So matters of immigration, I've been a leader under Chief Beck's direction and guidance for nearly a decade. Matters of how we go about impound procedures with under unlicensed drivers, a bill that you worked on feverishly in the State Assembly, and I'm glad to see that as a state we finally came to our senses in properly licensing individuals who were properly trained and should have the privilege of driving responsibly in this state, and that their immigration status is not a matter for local law enforcement or a matter for that regard of whether or not they should drive or not in this state. Matters of ICE detainers. When we first began this conversation years ago, nearly half a decade ago, we were one of the lone voices that called to question the legality, the constitutionality of those detainers, which were issued like tissues. And we were holding people indefinitely on minor and inconsequential offenses. And this department led in the reform and the change to where we have today, including state law, and the most widely accepted process recognizing those detainers should not be honored by local law enforcement, not just because they're unconstitutional, but because they undermine the trust and confidence in local law enforcement for matters of public safety. As a voice moving forward regarding labor, again, this is an area that, with my experience working with labor unions, I was the commander during the largest grocery strike in American history in 2003. And we were able to marshal a cooperative effort with those individuals striking against the grocery chains for equity, for fairness, in a manner that protected their rights and at the same time honored their management's rights as they went about this bargaining initiative or this strategy of this walkout. And we didn't take sides, but we acted in an impartial manner, but with compassion, and we were able to anticipate what people would want to trigger in this debate. So we know how to hold that precious line and remember our history where policing was used as a tool by management, by corporations, against labor. And at the same time, we will not fall prey to looking the other way if labor were to be involved in acts of violence or to victimize others. And I'm not suggesting that they're anywhere near that. But what we are here to voice for, whether it's labor within our own organization or labor that is represented in the public sector or in the private sector, is the rights of the individual, the equity that they must feel that for an honest day's work, they're getting an honest day's pay. And that in this democracy that we live in, that they're being given a fair shot. So that's my commitment, and going forward, the way I intend as a chief to speak to is as court decisions are made, as legislators and so forth make their positions known, we will follow the law, but we will do what is right. And I believe that both of those coexist nicely.
Mr. President, let me say that I have incredible respect for the vision and the wisdom and the judgment of the mayor. We've got to know each other through this process. We are in perhaps the most challenging times that this nation has known, and it impacts every city of this great nation. And leadership is more critical today than ever. And I think one of the things you've said that's so critical at this moment in this great city is an organization that listens to its constituents. And your commitment to that, to build this organization with integrity, to honor and respect the dignity of every resident of this city, is so critical at this moment, and that it is what is called for, what is necessary, and what must be done if we are to go forward as a city. And so I applaud you, I applaud your team, and I offer my support as we go forward in every instance that it may be needed. Thank you so much, and congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Cedillo. Mr. Englander to close.
Thank you, colleagues. I'm going to ask for your unanimous vote. But before I do so, I want to highlight the fact that this is more than a vote or a confirmation or a name that has been given to us by the mayor. In fact, I want to thank our mayor, Eric Garcetti, for what he did and the deep dive that he did in this critical decision. I can tell you firsthand that he was laser focused, and not just the individual or the 3 individuals that were presented to him by the commission. Not that he just made sure that he had constant communication and multiple interviews, and as was mentioned, we were in some of those, but constant communication with us on a regular basis. But more importantly, or just as important, was that he looked at every aspect of the department, our strengths, our weaknesses, what's working, what's not. Is there an individual who can actually focus on moving us forward on those things that are working and improve the things that aren't? And looking at and doing a deep dive and some of the homework assignments that he had the candidates do, some of which will never be made public, but they were fascinating. It was a real exercise in thought process. It was methodical, and it was collaborative. It was unique, and it was eye-opening. And so what Mr. Soboroff started and the mayor picked up and the council continued, I think is one of the best processes that I've ever seen since I've been here. And we ended up today with Mike Moore. And that says a lot about all of you, but it says also a lot about who you are. So colleagues, I ask for a unanimous vote in voting for our next chief of the Los Angeles Police Department, Michael Moore. Thank you.
Okay, with that said, Madam Clerk, would you please open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Congratulations. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been joined by our mayor, Mayor Eric Garcetti. Would you like to address the body, Mr. Mayor?
Well, thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you to this esteemed council. Thank you for the turning of the guard in a way that I don't know if it was pointed out, but the first time since I think I've been an adult, you have the current chief and the next chief together here. Symbol and I think an amazing picture of the strength of this city, of this department, and of these two men. We do have not really a time for a speech, but a swearing in, Mr. Council President. So I'd ask you if you'd please join us. I think we're going to do the formal oath of office. I don't know how it works till midnight. The city clerk will work it out because there's going to be 2 guys wearing 4 stars, but, you know, it's all done? It's all done? All right. So, Cindy, why don't you come over here, too? You got the stars?
Somebody brought the ring? The ring bearer?
Yeah. This will be available on eBay tonight. All right, thank you. We'll do them after the
Okay.
Yep.
We'll do that.
All right, please raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Michael Moore,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States of America
that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the City Charter of the City of Los Angeles,
and the City Charter of the City of Los Angeles,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the Office of Chief of Police of Los Angeles
the duties of the office of the Chief of Police of Los Angeles
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my abilities.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Chief. You can Thank you, and I just want to say one last thing, if you afford me, Mr. President, the opportunity. I've been saying it for the last month and a half, but this is a emotional day where we transition Charlie Beck to, and I know this is the last thing he wants is this to be about him. But this city owes him such a deep, deep debt of gratitude, and his family. And I, as mayor, owe him such deep, deep ties of friendship and love from me, from my wife Amy, our daughter Maya. We have been so blessed to have this man lead this city, to be a father to this department, to be a father to this city, and to be a father to his family all at once. And I can't wait to see him out there competitively motocrossing, enjoying his life, coming back. We have been blessed by a true angel in this city. Charlie Beck has set the bar. I know Mike Moore is looking up at it and can't wait to begin his era, and I know he's going to have an extraordinary chapter and led by the men and women who comprise this department. It's never about one person, but I will say that the loss of Charlie Beck tomorrow will be felt by all of us in this city and be celebrated, I know, in your home. Congratulations, and we love you. I love you. Thank you, Charlie. Where's the camera? You got it. All right. Just guys.
Now, if Bonch was here, he'd say point to the badge.
There you go.
One more here.
How Bonds lives.
That's right. Otherwise, you got cropped out.
Absolutely.
David, group photo.
So thank you, Mr. Mayor. Congratulations, Chief Moore. And we'd like to go into a brief recess so we could do a photo with all the council members in the middle. Thank you.
Hey, how are you? All right, let's go.
Take a break.
A vacation?
Vacation or something.
That sounds good.
The next few days.
Yeah, right. Well, Haley will be, yeah, no, we've got all this stuff. She's on the phone. She'll be here for all this stuff. She had classes today. Councilman. She'll be here tomorrow.
Chicago.
It's not happening until it's official. You know, I've seen things
Sideways, backwards, quick. Let's see.
Hope this my middle name.
Because
it is.
I know.
Esperanza.
Love Esperanza. Love that name. Yeah, yeah. All right, let me say hello to my father over here real quick.
Yeah, they had that was an item that was actually about
Members, if we could all return to our desks so we can continue our work for today. Members, please return to your desk. Okay, Mr. Clerk, why don't we recess the regular, go into the special?
Very good, sir. Blumenfield, Bona, Buscano, Cedillo, Engler, Harris, Dawson, Weezer, Koretz, Corcoran, Martinez, O'Farrell, Price, Rodriguez, Rue, Wesson. 13 members present.
Thank you. I believe, and I could be wrong, but is it items 30 and 31 that we can take up?
Yes, sir. Those are items for which public hearings have been held, and a committee report for item 31 has been posted and circulated.
Okay, so let's vote on those two items. So please open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, Sergeants, I want to open up the center aisle for public comment. Mr. Previn, are you still around? I did see you earlier. Mr. Previn, if you would please come forward.
And Mr. President, that would be public comment for item 32.
Yes.
32 is an item for which a public hearing has not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Mr. Previn.
Mr. Previn, go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Fauble. It's Eric Previn from Studio City. And the key question on this item, which we talked about earlier, 8502, is we're not excited about citing people, and England are putting smart boots on people who are seeking shelter in their vehicles. So, you know, what you're going to look at the feasibility of establishing a standardized formula and price structure for the leasing of proposed locations for the vehicle dwelling program. That's Safe Parking LA. But is that? Can somebody stand up and inform the public? Are we going to be? The city is not going to be taking money from, for example, Measure H and charging to pay. Are we going to be charging motorists who are resting in a place? I think that what the public would love to see, sir, is the 7,000 folks who are sleeping in cars at night, if they could just be left alone quietly, if they're not in anybody's way, and if we could relax rather than tighten the restrictions. Because if you do have to sleep in a car, and I have in the history of time, not, you know, as a homeless person per se, but you want to use a restroom in the morning. You want to be able to, and so by blocking connection to those places.
Thank you, Mr. Previn. Thank you. So if I could get, is Mr. Herman? Please come forward. Mr. Herman, please come forward.
Mr. Chair, is this a special?
Yes, it is.
Thank you, sir. While sitting during this nauseous so-called presentation, communication from the city attorney, as I put it, 42 U.S.C. 1983, fuck you. Why? Because recommendations for council's actions subject to the approval of the mayor who has done nothing to make the quality of our lives improved. Do you see improvement in LA? Have you seen anything improve other than poor infrastructure? And once again, the physical impact statement, none submitted by the city attorney. Fuck you, Mike Fuhr. Neither the city administrative officer. Fuck Jose Weezer. And fuck you, Dawson. Because I have the authority under the Brown Act as the legislative body to speak out, criticize, and once again, fuck you.
Okay, Ms. Ramirez. Ms. Ramirez.
But we do have two children in here, so they don't want me to just go ballistic. They need to
Please, let's keep it down.
Thank you
I
very
understand.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a chronic problem. Public safety is at its worst. Do I believe that the new chief, Michael Moore, is going to cut
You
it?
have to stay to the item, Ms. Ramirez, and
yes.
this is item 32, and it's in the special meeting
Forgive me.
agenda.
Okay, could you hold my time, please? That would be very nice if you could do that.
No, you
Okay.
have to be prepared.
Thank you, sir. Vehicle dwelling again, ladies and gentlemen, we have a homeless situation. It is out of control, and still there are no viable solutions. What we need is to find a dwelling, a place that these people can park in, as long as they're not wetbacks, gangbangers, and junkies. Get them the fuck out in a rehab and or in deportations. But get an area that is safe, secure, and protected and clean for those who live in the vehicles that are legal, law-abiding American citizens and that follow the rule of law, but are not wetbacks or...
Thank you. Mr. Spindler. Mr. Spindler, item 32, special agenda.
Gee, it's interesting. I wonder what this text was. Council members to bring people in audience to try to set me up. I don't know what that's about. Okay.
Speak to the item.
That's all right. So, let's see here. You got caught. You put an amendment in, and you closed public comment. The city attorney got caught. Under the Brown
You have
Act.
to speak to item 32
Listen,
in the
fool.
special agenda.
I'm trying to...
Wait a minute, Mr. Spindler. Mr. Spindler, you will address the motion, and you will stay on topic, or you can sit down. Get back on topic.
How is that not on
No,
the
Mr.
topic,
Spindler.
Mr. City Attorney? How is that not on the topic, Mr. City Attorney, that you violate the Brown Act?
No,
How is
nobody's
that not on the
violating
topic?
anything.
How is that not on the topic?
Thank you. Your time is expired. Sergeants, have him take a seat. All right. Mr. Hunt? Oh, no. Okay, so then we can vote on this item? No, he is coming.
I am the Red Chief Hunt. The homeless population, the homeless problem is all of our problem. Solution, problem, solution. Here's what we got to do. We got to find a place for them to park their cars, their vehicles, come up with a viable solution. Let's think sensible. They're human beings, so what, they sleep in their cars. They have my vote of approval. Find a spot, City Council, and find a spot for them to sleep in without any bullshit. That's the Red Chief Hunt, and I'm demanding that.
Okay, thank you. So let's vote on the item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Mr. Clerk, there are no other items in the special meeting, correct? So let's adjourn and return. Mr. City Attorney? Let's send the items forthwith. Okay, so let's adjourn the special, return to the regular. And what's before the body? Is it general public comment?
Mr. President, we do have general public comment as well as special item 1.
Mr. City Attorney?
Yes, I'll state the findings for the council's consideration. So this is on special 1. So since the posting of the agenda, a fire broke out on the Venice Pier, exacerbating the pier's already deteriorated condition as recently revealed in a Bureau of Engineering report. The pier is now indefinitely closed, and there's an immediate need to act to address the dangerous conditions of the pier. So the council will take 2 votes. First, on the findings pursuant to Government Code Section 54954.2, then public comment if there is any, and then a vote on the substance of the motion itself.
Okay, let's take our first vote. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
So we voted on the findings. Mr. Bonnet, did you want to say something before we actually vote on the...
Just real quick, Streff.
Go ahead.
Did a phenomenal job describing the content of the motion as well. About 12 feet of the pier has been structurally damaged by the fire. It's a public health and safety issue at this point. Rec and Parks has a short and a medium-term plan, and the short term is to get it as open and fixed as soon as humanly possible, and this will enable us to do so. So I ask for an aye vote.
Anybody wishing to speak on special 1, come forward.
Well, thank you. And obviously, I assume nobody was hurt. I hope nobody was hurt. And I understand that this was a fire underneath a pier, and now there's some structural problems. You know, we're going to go to our panel of pre-qualified people for a big contract of like $5 million. So I don't know why it's being done in this quiet environment after the hubbub of the police chief. It does seem that this fire was caused in the last 12 or so hours, so I don't know. And I also certainly hope that there's a thorough and thoughtful investigation. And we have to look closely at, you know, Nikki Miner's here today, about people going around talking about fires created by people when there may or may not be facts that support that. So I really encourage this body not to do another firestorm of scapegoating if it's not, in fact, the case. Now, I don't know. There's a long tradition in this hall of doing things at the last minute on an emergency basis.
Thank you. Okay, let's vote on this item, and then we will go into general public. Ma'am, did you want to speak on this item or general public comment? Okay, come forward. Identify yourself.
Yes, Colleen Sorrow, Venice resident. I'm chairman of the Oceanfront Walk Committee through the VNC, but I'm speaking solely as a resident. Thank you for addressing this so quickly. Councilman Bonin, thank you so much. And yes, it would be great if you can specify exactly what caused the fire, because there's a lot of disruption within Venice as to how it was caused. And since our homeless community there is so large, I would hate to see that this is put on the homeless community because they don't need something else negative to go against them. So thank you for getting the pier fixed quickly as well. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Why is it that the homeless are blamed for every problem? Why is it? Should the homeless have to be the scapegoat of this city? Or should I call Jeff Sessions back and ask the question why the fires were purposely started by someone within the city to create a device of money coming in by bonds and grants, so we can buy more modern new equipment to shut off the fire. You see, when you treat me respectfully, I in turn treat you back respectfully. So when we do put out fires, it is in the best interest of the public not to waste, abuse, money laundering, and take the money away from the fire situations, and all people in fire department should get a 10% raise.
Mr. Ramirez.
Thank you, sir. Very well said, Herman. I have to say, it's pretty sad
the fake news attacking a homeless individual and blaming the individual for starting the fires. That is pretty atrocious. Now, and by the way, do we actually have homeless people living in that type of an area, encampment, that is so far out of human society? That's pretty dangerous. I can't see that. I think it's far-fetched, and I think it's a fake news goddamn lie. And again, ladies and gentlemen, we've also got to protect our fire department, gentlemen, and rescue team, because they are under the gun now by a lot of crazy maniacs. Please, we've got to take care of our fire department personnel. They are facing weapons at all turns wherever they go. Please, let us also protect our pilots who are dousing fire retardants and water on these dangerous conditions. Again.
Thank you. Thank you. Next speaker. Thank you. Thank you. Your time's gone. Come on, Mr. Spindler.
Yes. Now you see, again, your illegality. I tried to sign up for this item on your defective kiosk. But what really happened was goats were the cause of the fire. Goats were up in the mountains. Goats were using removal of weed equipment, calling de-weeding, also known as weed care. And then what happened, one of the engines had a burst and it caused the fire. So now you blame the homeless encampment. Why? So that you don't have to pay the rich Jew homeowners up in the mountains. That's why. See, that way their private insurance gets hit. If it's the cause of the city, the insurance companies get indemnification from the city and your insurance rates go down. So they're blaming it on a false cause.
Thank you. Okay, let's prepare to vote on the item. That closes comment. Let's open the roll. Close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Mr. Clerk, I believe we're at general public comment. If I can get Ms. Richardson.
Yes, sir.
If she'd come forward, do we have Mr. Kwan? Rob, come forward. And Richard, you'll be after Mr. Kwan.
Mr. President, there's also been a request to send Special 1 forthwith.
So ordered.
This came from a recent throwaway paper. They said that there's going to be another jail made over on Bluesett Street. I wonder why it's more than likely it'll be a bigger jail than what we have now. Chief Beck always pointed out that the crime rate is continually going down a little at a time. If this is so, who are they going to put in this new jail? Recreational users of marijuana, drunk drivers, who? Back in 2002, 2006, I noticed down on 7th Street going towards Alameda, they had some, looked like prisoners, about 40 of them, looked like they just got out of jail, and more than likely, I assume they're from another nation. I hope other nations don't dump their prisoners on Los Angeles like they did before. I'm assuming they did, and make us pay for their prisoners.
Thank you. Come on forward, Mr. Rob Kwan, followed by Mr. Robinson.
Must be a sign of the times, because I feel like living in a parallel universe a bit. This vote on Michael Moore today was described as the most critical decision we'll make, an open, transparent process, but this council's involvement was mostly engaged in backdoor meetings. There was no public comment at this meeting itself. Multiple attempts to reach the chair's office to find out if there would be public comment weren't responded to. There was absolutely no discussion of use of force. The fact that our city still leads the nation in police shootings, $880 million in settlements the city's paid out from 2005 to 2018. 42% of them have been by LAPD. $200 million for police misconduct. Talking about the cadet program, saying that that was a small thing, oversight. The Inspector General report found that LAPD supervision and oversight was completely lacking. Let's not forget a 31-year-old officer was found with a 15-year-old girl sexually assaulting her. We keep on talking about protect and serve, but our police force still has a shoot first, ask questions later policy, even though it's not there in effect. I lived in Lincoln Heights a couple years ago. There was a drive-by up the street. The person fleeing was shot, flipped their car, and died in front of the house. The blood was stained there for 6 months afterwards. LAPD spent the whole night closing off the street, and nobody could clean up the blood to let the people in that community know that their lives don't matter here.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. And then I would like to call up Colleen Sorrow and Sally David. Yes, sir.
Mr. President, members, Oprah Winfrey is running interference for Michelle Obama. Sir, Michelle Obama and Hillary Clinton as president and vice president, supported by Barack and Bill, can return our nation to the right track. Their 2020 vision will focus scoping onto the business at hand, national defense, and recreating our infrastructure. But moreover, I sense that they will bring God back to the classroom. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please come forward and identify yourself. Yes.
Colleen Sorrow. I'm chairman of the Oceanfront Walk Committee through the VNC in Venice, but today I am speaking for myself as a resident. This is regarding the Bird and Lime scooters. Number one, they are all over the boardwalk and the bike path, which is illegal. You can hardly ride a bike on the bike path anymore without being run over or having to get onto the sand because of them. You have people on scooters yelling at others to get out and move out of their way. It's illegal for any motorized vehicle to be on the boardwalk and the bike path. It's totally getting out of control. I spoke with the rep from Bird the other day, and they have a pilot program, ambassador program that they're testing in San Diego. In a couple of weeks, they hope to get the data. If it works, they're hoping to bring it to Venice. Bottom line is, LAPD needs to start ticketing and enforcing along the boardwalk and the bike path. The city needs the money. Here's an opportunity. Hell of a lot of money out there to collect if you give tickets. Last Friday, when they were doing their cleanup on boardwalk, I asked...
Thank you. Thank you. Next, ma'am. Did I call your name? Are you next? Yes.
You did. Thank you very much. I am the executive director of an organization called Six Rise. I'm a former professor from the Massachusetts School of Law. I'm not from California. My husband is. I've been here for 10 years, and I'm very pleased to have voted for Eric Garcetti and to have been involved in the mayor's Days of Compassion event. I want to congratulate Mr. Moore. I think he's going to do a wonderful job. Six Rise is an organization, it's a nonprofit that supports all of the things Mr. Moore was talking about. If you look at the website, which is www.support6.org, you'll see I work with DACA, I work with the homeless, and I'm a stakeholder in both Echo Park and Atwater Village. I work with the United Methodist Church and their Justice and Compassion Ministries, and we intend to help the city. I support the police, and I did come here to see Mr. O'Farrell, but disappeared. Verschwunden.
Thank you, Mr. Spindler. Followed by Mr. Perry Crouch.
So again, I appreciate the renegades. Thank you within the castle for that text. And that's what we're going to do. And I like the fact that everybody saw today the hypocrite liar Nuri Martinez. We're going to get a woman of color as our next police chief. We're going to get a person of color. No, we get the same thing. The white supremacist gets another 5 years as police chief. Where is our new police chief? You had a black man, you had a Latino, you had a pasty white man, and you vote again for another pasty white man. Liar, Nuri. Liar, Gil Cedillo. Liar, Mike Bonnet. Lies, lies, lies. We get this guy over here. You put him in a suit and a tie, and he thinks he's Jewish. He's not Jewish. He's just another fool. I'm tired of this. We need diversity in the LAPD, not this bullshit.
Dr. Crouch.
Man, my sons had to listen to this, man. I better be glad I ain't younger, because some of these people, I'd have put them together, but can't do that now. But I just wanted to tell my family, you know, some of that lights is starting tonight. Gil, man, you go back a long, long way. But some of that lights is starting tonight. If you have parks in your district, please check it out. Thank y'all for always supplying the money. And we're going to do what we're supposed to. And we will be your eyes and ears on the police matter. That's we always are with the Watts Gang Task Force. But y'all doing a beautiful job in spite of all of the criticism that y'all taking. I love you. My boys love you. And y'all have a good day. We finna go down and celebrate with Chief Charlie back.
The boys are growing.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Yeah. So let's see. Who do we have? Mr. Hunt. And ma'am, your name? Okay. You'll speak right after Mr. Hunt. Go ahead.
Again, the Red Chief Hunt for the record. There is such thing called Hunt versus the City of Los Angeles. That gives us free speech today. But I really want to talk to you guys about what's going on in the chamber and the First Amendment and things like that. I'm working on my 4th trial against you guys. And it's really important that you guys listen. Because like you said, we give away the money in Los Angeles City. City attorney, I'm not really happy with you. I'm not happy with a lot of other people, but I can't say their name. But we have to make a change, and I'm back, and you should probably listen to you, because 4 times in, 4 times out. 3-0 so far. This is the last one. Red Chief Hunt.
Ms. Couch.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm here from San Pedro, a beautiful and diverse community. We love to be involved and we love to celebrate each other. But recently, social media has been full of negativity. I believe that this negativity stems from what we are witnessing all over the country. We are losing our civility and tolerance for each other's differences, differences that make us unique and special. I'm not suggesting that racism didn't exist or practice before, it just had been covered up a little bit better. So please continue to support every group in the city of LA with the same consideration and decency that every human being deserves, regardless of race, gender, disability, or who they choose to love. You might think, well, this is law, this is common sense, but unfortunately the current White House administration actions are not about creating effective policy or making change for the benefit of all America, but just for a basic few. Instead, people are being attacked because of differences that make them who they are. As a Latina mother, it pains me to see families being torn apart and placed in encampments and numbered like animals. This is only the...
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. That's everyone. Mr. Buscaíno for an intro.
Yes, thank you. If I may, Mr. President, we are joined here by one of the newest elected mayor of the city of Oklahoma City. We've done some great work together in National League of Cities. Mayor David Holt, who's here. Let's give him a round of welcome.
Mayor Holt a round of applause. Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. No, Mr. Sargent, Mr. Spindler, Mr. Herman.
There you go. So Mayor Holt reminds me that he too has a few of these in his city council chambers. But nonetheless, he's here with Mayor Garcetti's Accelerate for America initiative. Oklahoma City is one of 3 cities that the mayors around the country are focused on. And he just reminded me that Oklahoma City, the AAA Dodgers are in Oklahoma. And I'm sorry that I regret that Mr. O'Farrell, who's from Oklahoma City, is not here today, but he's going to be able to leave a hat for Mitch as well. But we welcome you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for your leadership. leading the issues of municipalities across the country, including in yours in Oklahoma City. We welcome you with open arms.
Thank you.
Thank you
so much.
Thank
Welcome,
you,
Mr.
President.
Mayor. Welcome. Okay. No, listen, now you're disrupting. Mr. Clerk, what's before this body at this time?
Council has motions for posting and referral.
Okay, they are posted, they are referred. Do we have any announcements? No announcements. If we could all please rise. If we can all please rise. We mentioned that we lost a great human being last week when we lost John Mack. We as a council, we've done this on a couple of occasions. We created a special adjourning motion that each and every one of us signed. Today's adjourning will be just for Mr. Mack. And on our television monitors, there are a series of old photographs that represent great moments in his life and great moments for many of us. But at this point in time, I'd like to afford members looking good there, Mr. Harris Dawson. I would like to afford members the opportunity to make a few remarks, and I would recognize Mr. Harris Dawson first.
Thank you so much, Mr. President and members. It is with great sadness and a profound sense of loss that I join in the adjourning motion for one John Mack, one of this city's truest angels, if ever we knew one. There are many things to say about John Mack. His resume is storied. His contributions are legendary. For me, it is the personal relationship I had with John Mack and the ability and privilege to watch him use power and influence in the most elegant but firm way that I've ever seen anybody do. One of the strongest and most uncompromising activists anywhere in the country, and at the same time, one of the most gentle and civil men that you would ever want to meet, and could say in a whisper what thousands of people can't say with a shout. Comfortable in every part of the city, in every venue of the city, from the boardroom to a basketball court, to a church house, to a small business. John Mack was absolutely welcomed in every venue. And so it's this example that he's left us with that I certainly commit to working hard to emulate, but I think is a good light to have left with all of us as we try to build the kind of city that we all deserve to live in.
Well said. Mr. Price?
Just want to echo what Councilman Harris Dawson just mentioned. He was just an extraordinary guy and just down to earth. That's what I always appreciate about I always call him Mr. Mack. You know, he was always approachable, always willing to share thoughts or ideas, cared about young people, cared about education, and was just became an extraordinary national leader, international leader, as president of the LA Urban League, really charting the course for the national organization, really out of Los Angeles. So just appreciate the commitment he made, the seriousness with which he took encouraging equality, access, and making sure that everyone had a piece of the pie, or at least was at the table to get a piece of the pie. He did an extraordinary job, will be long missed, but a real pioneer, a real hero to us all. Thank you.
Mr. Cedillo.
Let me attach to the words of very articulate Marquise Harris Dawson. I was thinking of him a lot lately, and what I was thinking about him was his transition, as you talked about his leadership with the Urban League, but his transition, his relationship with the mayors of this city, and how he would take posts and then develop an expertise. And I wanted to just recently think, well, I should go sit with him to talk to him about those transitions and how he's moved from post to post to post, remaining a person of influence. Like my colleague, Senator Price, I was always deferential to him in calling him Mr. Mack. And what I noted, the only other word that came to mind in this discussion is he was such a decent man. And in all circumstances, he was a man who was just extremely decent, approachable. Even to say that he was approachable doesn't even give weight to how approachable he was. He simply was a person that you looked to whenever you saw him publicly, a great man, a great family man, and a great family. I was just saddened to hear that last week. I was out sick, and then I heard that, and I just thought, what a sadness. We should not, there's a lot of times where we think we should reach out to somebody in this city. There's a lot of leaders that are here and around us, and we forget to reach out to them, and I think here's another great example of why we should not pause or hesitate to thank the great leaders of this city. And so, God bless you, John Mack.
Mr. Englander.
Thank you. Oftentimes when we lose someone, we want to celebrate their life and what they're able to do and their accomplishments. With John Mack, his loss is a tragedy to the city of Los Angeles and what he's done, not just as a person, but as a leader. I was trying to remember when I heard the news last week of his passing, when I'd first met him. What I did remember is the first time I actually sat down with him. And it was when I was a candidate running for office. And because I'd met him many, many times and had multiple conversations for years before that. But it was the first time we actually sat down. And he called for the meeting. And he wanted to know who I was. And so I started telling him, I'll never forget this. We were over lunch at PDC. And I started telling him about my life story and why I want to do this. And after I was all done, he said, yeah, okay, let me ask you the question again. And he kept doing that. Who are you? What makes you tick? I want to know what you're going to do with this power if you win. And started walking me through a very interesting process that I'd never been through with anyone through that process. And then immediately after the election, he followed up and continued to do so. And we developed a very incredible relationship. He is and will be forever remembered as one of the people that I look to for guidance in bridging relationships, in looking at how we bring everybody together for resolve. He will be missed dearly. In light of that, I will be bringing in a motion to name the police commission meeting room after him. And at that point, we'll look to all of you for your support for that and other ways that we can commemorate his legacy.
Good man, great idea. I just want to speak for just a moment to kind of piggyback on something that Marquise said. He was an activist, okay? And he was one of these unique people that he was an activist, and then he was part of the establishment. And he could walk with, 1 foot on each side of the street. And that's probably one of the most challenging things to do because you can jeopardize your integrity when you try to do that, but he was masterful at that, and he was respected among activists, and he was respected among people of the establishment because he knew how to get things done. When I became Speaker of the California State Assembly, the first time I physically gave a resolution to a person, it was John Mack, and I timed that purposely because I wanted to do that. But now, don't think that John was just always this great guy. He was, but he was smooth too. Like about 4 years ago when he invites me over to his place because he wants to talk about some new business that's coming in the area. And as he's talking about this new business and how it's going to go behind his house, he keeps referring to, boy, Herb, my sidewalks, they sure look bad, don't they? Anyway, he got a new set of sidewalks for the people on his street. He knew how to get things done. He was a good man. So if there are no more comments, John, rest in peace. You will be missed. Oh, wait, I need to send number 3 forthwith. Okay, with that said. And you know what? Marquise called me the night that he passed, and we were uncertain as to exactly what had occurred. It's kind of ironic that the call confirming it came to me from Chief Moore, who John was a huge supporter of. And I believe Chief Moore was just with him a few days prior making plans to do something. So anyway, with that said, this meeting is adjourned.
About 99% of our clients are longshoremen, then the other 1% is everybody else. Isaac opened back in the late 70s. The business was began by my mother and my father over 40 years ago now. My father, he worked on the docks, he worked at the canneries, so did my mother. My father used to take food from the house first, and that's how it is.